The topic for today is the difference between Friedman's and Keynes' quantity theory of money. The demand for money function of Friedman and Keynes differ in many ways. Let us discuss them one by one. The first point lies in the definition of money. They define money in different ways. Friedman's definition of money is broader as compared to Keynes' definition of money. First, Friedman will consider. According to Friedman, money is an asset or capital good which serves as a temporary abode of purchasing power. So he says that money is your asset. It is a good which you are holding, but it is indirectly, it is a board of it. It holds the virtue. Money holds the virtue of purchasing power. You will be able to spend that money in whatsoever form you want. So if you are holding money, you are holding an asset which is including, it is abiding by the purchasing power. You have the full authority of spending that currency to purchase anything. So you are holding it. So actually it is an asset according to Friedman. And also money is held for a stream of income or consumable services which it renders. It is extension of this first line only, that you are holding it. As such, you are not going to consume money. Nobody is going to eat it, right? So you can use it for the consumable services which you can get it exchanged for money. If you have money, you have the right to buy the goods or buy the consumable services whichever you want. This is the Friedman's definition of money, which is broader as compared to Keynes. Now, what does Keynes say? Keynes say money is actually equal to the demand deposits. Whatever demand deposits you are having, that is money. And also, it is money is the non-interest bearing debt of the government. It is the debt of the government in which there is no interest. You don't have to bear any interest on it. Like you are holding it. So money, according to Keynes, the definition holds that it is a demand deposits and it is the non-interest bearing debt of the government. So this is the first point of difference. Second is demand for money function. Now, how both these economists deal with the demand for money function also lies a difference. Let's consider Friedman first. According to him, the demand for money is a function of many variables, right? So what those variables are, first is RM, that is the yield on money, which money will be giving on you. RB is the yield on bonds, the interest which you will be earning on bonds. It is also a function of RE, the yield on securities which you are holding. GP, yield on physical assets. Now you also will be holding the physical assets and the yield which you will be getting on them is considered as GP, right? And next comes U. U is the collectively other variables. So we can say that demand for money function according to Friedman is the on the part of wealth holders is a function of many variables, and here is a list of those variables which it depends upon. But according to Keynes, demand for money function is just the assets confined to the assets or the bonds where interest rates are the relevant cost of holding money. Now, because you are holding money, instead of that, you will be holding the bonds, and interest rate, what is that? This is the cost by which you are holding the bonds. That is the cost of holding money. So Keynes' demand for money function is just confined to these assets and bonds. Next point. Third point, difference between the monetary mechanism, how these two economists deal with the monetary mechanism is also different. Friedman and Keynes differ in the opinion as to how changes in the quantity of money affect economic activity. Now, quantity of money changes. Friedman says something else as to what will happen to economic activity, and Keynes says something else as to what will happen to economic activity once the quantity of money changes. Friedman says that monetary disturbances directly affect prices and production of all the types of goods, since people will buy or sell any asset held by them. So Friedman considers that if some monetary changes happen, so they will directly be affecting the prices and the production of all types of goods and services. Even if people buy them or any sell them, it will be directly related to the prices of all goods and services. He also emphasizes that the market interest rates play only a small part of the total spectrum of rates that are relevant. Now, to consider that monetary mechanism, these our interest rates, they are just a fraction of the whole lot. They play a small part of the spectrum, total spectrum of the rates that are relevant. Now, what does Keynes says regarding it? He says that monetary changes, if happen, they will indirectly affect the economic activity. Here he is claiming it to be direct and this person claims it to be indirect. How? Through bond prices and interest rates. The monetary authorities increase the money supply by purchasing the bonds. If the monetary authorities, they will purchase the bonds, obviously the money supply will increase, which raises their prices and reduces the yield on them. On those bonds, which yield you will be getting, they will be lower. Lower yield on bonds induces the people to put their money elsewhere because you are not getting lucrative offers of the interest rates on the bond. So people will shy away from investing in these bonds. They will put their money elsewhere. Such an investment in new productive capital that will increase output and income. So instead of buying bonds which now have lower rate of interest, people will shift their investment into new productive capital which will increase output and income. Next point. Difference with regard to motives for holding money balances. Now, why people hold money balances? One person is saying something else and this fellow is saying something else. Friedman, let's first discuss Keynes, right? Keynes divides money balances into active and idle categories. So he has made distinction of money balances. Active category means transaction and precautionary motive. Why people are holding money? Active reason. What is the active reason? Because they have to make transactions, they have to purchase goods and services, and for precautionary motive, you never know, tomorrow you may be in need of money and you should have hard cash with them. And idle category, speculative motive for holding money. Idle category means they don't need to spend it immediately, that for speculation, maybe it will give you more value for money. They are holding it for that reason. So Keynes is dividing that people hold money balances either for active purposes, which means transaction and precautionary motive, and or for idle purposes, that is for speculation purpose. Now a Friedman, he does not divide money balances into any category. So there is no division of money balances. Money is held for a variety of different purposes which determine the total value of assets held, such as money, physical assets, total wealth, human wealth, general preferences, tastes and anticipations. So first of all, though, there is no categorization. Secondly, there are so many purposes for which people will hold money. Value of assets, right? You may hold that your value as money, you can hold it as money, as physical asset. You can divide that money into total wealth, human wealth, your preferences. So this is the difference with regard to motive for holding money balances between Keynes and Friedman. Further, classification of income. Now, Friedman, distinction between permanent income and nominal income, he has created two categories. What is the meaning of permanent income? Permanent is the amount a wealth holder can consume while maintaining his wealth intact. Now, his total wealth is the same. And what income he is getting? That is his permanent income. Nominal income, it is measured in prevailing units of currency. Depends on both the prices and quantities of goods traded. So, keeping your wealth intact, your total assets intact, how much you are consuming, you are getting, that is your permanent income. And nominal income, it is just measured in the prevailing units of currency. But Keynes, he does not make any distinction, any such distinction of income between permanent and nominal. So we come to the end of the article. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay blessed.